The Vera Tommy Show. The Vera Tommy Show. The Vera Tommy Show. The Vera Tommy Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Tommy Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
This can lead to feelings of isolation, discrimination, or a lack of acceptance from others, including extended family members and the greater community. Now, parents can emphasize that their family structure, though different from traditional norms, is still valuable and full of that love and strength. So that's what we're really anchoring into for these kids. Now, by discussing societal biases and teaching children to rise above judgment, parents can help them to develop a strong sense of self-worth and emotional resilience. Vera?
Yes, and additionally, parents can encourage kids to build supportive networks of friends and allies who embrace diversity and understand their family dynamic. It's essential to focus on positive qualities and strengths, both within the family and in the community. Rather than dwelling on negativity or exclusion, parents should show model confidence and pride in their family, showing that their love and connection are what matters most. Set the tone.
Exactly. Now, in blended or in step families, children may feel torn between biological parents, step parents, siblings, especially if there are issues of loyalty or complex relationships. You know, children need as much love as they can get.
They
Step
do.
parents, stepchildren, I've been there. Children just need more love. So we shouldn't have issues with that as adults. We should just get on the same team because it's really about the children. So this can cause emotional stress as children try to balance different expectations and maintain relationships with both sides of their family when they have these kinds of dynamics going on with blended families.
Hi, I am so excited. My guest tonight was actually the guest that we had earlier today on Children Lives Matter. The clip I just played was not the clip I intended to play. I am going to play the clip with my guest and hear her, and then we're going to talk about her life and her story and her love and her family and her business and what it is that she does. So let me play this and then I'll be right back.
What would you say to those who are struggling to understand and to accept a non-traditional family?
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to answer your question with a question to those people. So my question to those people would be, what does it mean to be a good mom? What does it mean to be a good dad? What does it mean to be a good parent, right? Mm-hmm. As a mother, I want to show up every single day to help raise my child to be happy, to be healthy, just to be kind, to be a good human being, you know? And if I'm doing that, what do you care what we look like? Yeah, we're mommy and we're daddy, and daddy just happens to be a woman, you know? Like, what does it matter so long as we are being great parents and showing up for our kid? You know, our kid is our priority. You know, and that's it for most parents. All they want is to just figure out how to get through this life and be a good parent, because
Amen.
None of us have got the rule book and we're all flying by the seat of our pants and we're just trying our best, you know?
Yes, And being a good parent, regardless of the structure of that family. I am going to pull up my guest, Amy Murphy. Hello, Amy. How are you?
I am so wonderful. Thank you for having me tonight, Vera.
I am so excited that you were able to come at the last minute. So I really appreciate
I'm delighted. I think it's going to be a really great night. We're going to have some amazing conversation.
Yes, we are. And I came on late because her and I were in conversation, and I looked at the time and it was like, oh my God. So here we are.
Yes.
Before I bring her up, I'm going to share a little bit about Amy Murphy. She is the founder of Clematis Creative, a mom, a wife, a businesswoman. But Amy's story is anything but conventional. It might even be considered controversial, would you not say? When her husband courageously shared his truth that he was meant to be a woman, Amy faced a life-changing decision. Instead of letting fear or societal expectations define their future, they chose love, understanding, and unwavering support. Now, Amy and her wife continue their journey together, proving that family is not about traditional roles, but about deep connection, respect, and commitment. Today, she joins me to share her incredible story of resilience, transformation, and the power of conditional love. With all of that said, I'm excited. I really am. With all of that said, I want you to start with your journey as a child. What was your childhood like? And then I want you to share, one, how did you meet this man?
Mm-hmm.
How did you, as you share the story, how did you feel? What was going through, what emotions, trepidations, fear or anxiety or any of that?
All of them.
None of that. Did you feel? Okay, so I'm going to give you the floor and let you.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. I am Amy Murphy. I currently live in South Florida. I've been here for nearly 20 years, and I absolutely love it. But I grew up in an exceptionally small town in Western New York. And I would say the last time I looked, the population was less than 1,000 people.
Ooh.
We would always joke that cows would outnumber people 2.5 to 1.
Oh my God.
Right. So, we had an onion festival and an onion queen. And when I wanted to tell my friends how to get to my house, I said, take the only right, because there was only one right in our town.
Oh my God.
It was so small. So growing up in that type of a community, you're in one school, K through 12, you're with all of the same people for 13 years. Gosh, I had 29 kids in my graduating class. Not many of those kids left. A lot of them stayed and worked on the farms, and they have, these amazing lives with their own children and now grandchildren. And that's a beautiful thing. But a couple of us, did want to leave our little town. And so I went off to college and had a lot of fun, made a lot of mistakes, as people do in college. And as soon as I graduated, I went back home, moved in with my parents, got a job because that's what you were supposed to do. And that lasted for a couple of months, and I was just straight up miserable because I don't like being cold. I think maybe it's what's the temperature, like 70, 75 degrees out today, and I'm in jeans, boots, and a sweater because it's chilly.
I'm jealous.
It's chilly. Okay. Like, it's cold. We're going to have to get the winter jacket out soon. So I was offered a job down in West Palm Beach, Florida. And I just remember going home that night to my mother, and I said, I need to call a family meeting. Now, mind you, we'd never had a family meeting. It wasn't like something that we did. It's like, I need a family meeting. And my mom's like, okay. I'm like, Mom, I accepted a job in Florida and I need to be there in 2 weeks. She's like, oh, okay. Got it. She must have been scared to death, but her and my father, God bless them, they helped me pack up everything I owned in a U-Haul. What I owned didn't even fill like half of it, right? And they drove down to Florida with me. And I moved down here to work for an Australian yacht company. I started off as the, admin to the CEO, and that moved into a marketing role. But what was really interesting about that job was how I met Alan. Alan was Alan then. Alan is now Allie, my current wife. So, but this was long, long ago. So this was, April 2005. And at that time, Alan was working for his family business and wanted to get a start in the yachting business. So his family owns a very high-end linen company in West Palm Beach. They've been around for over 100 years. It's like a staple down here. And so Alan wanted to break into the yachting market. So he set a meeting with me and approached me and said, listen, I will decorate all of your boats for a boat show for free. All I want you to do is just tell everybody that we are your preferred aftermarket vendor. And I'm like, so you mean I don't have to decorate my own boats for boat show? And Alan says, no. And I'm like, and I don't have to pay you to do this. And Alan's like, no. I'm like, perfect. There we go. Yes. And, the yachting industry was just a very interesting place where you would have to like go out and entertain all the time. And Alan was genuinely my best friend. There was never a romantic attraction because Alan was engaged and later married at that time. And just never a romantic attraction at all. But we did everything together in the yachting industry. I was Alan's date to a lot of parties. Alan was my date to all the parties. And that was just it. So I constantly want to just like kick myself because I don't have any pictures of us together from that time in our life.
But you do have this one.
Yes. So that was when we got engaged. And
tell me about how did that happen? What did he do for the engagement?
Oh my goodness. This is one of my favorite stories. So, she passed in early 2020, but
Your
she
mother?
was just this amazing. No, this was Alan's grandmother.
Oh,
so
okay.
She lived on about 400 acres out in the middle of Florida, and we would just go to her house all the time and just visit. We would sit around her kitchen table for hours and just talk. This woman was just so special. She just had every story to tell. And anyways, so fast forward a little bit where they're visiting again. And, our cousins, our younger cousins, had come over to fix Jeannie, the grandmother's computer, because she's having troubles with it. She can't figure it out. And before they get to fixing the computer, we're all sat in the formal living room. Now, we never sit in the formal living room, ever. Like, ever. I'm like, okay, well, this is weird, but okay. So we're sitting there, and Jeannie turns to Alan, and she says, "Are your feet cold?" And I'm like, that's a really weird thing to say. I mean, my feet are kind of cold, but I guess I could just put another pair of socks on. Oh, that's the weirdest. Oh, okay, whatever. Okay. And then like a couple of minutes later, Alan got up, grabbed my hand, and took me outside. So now we're like standing in the middle of the pasture. And he gets down on one knee And he says to me, it was so simple and so beautiful. It was just something like, I love you so completely. Will you be my wife? And I was like, ah, boo-hoo crying. And the cousins were there so they could take pictures.
And you don't have any of the pictures with you that you can share with me?
I don't. They're all at home because it's printed. But it was just such an amazing memory, where everybody was in on it except for me. I think you're gonna realize that I'm a little oblivious. I'm like the last on things.
I can relate.
I'm like a little bobblehead.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Yeah. Are you getting cold feet? Are you going to propose or what?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Looking back on it, I just was rolling. I was laughing so hard. I was just like, everybody was in on it. But yeah, it was an absolutely beautiful memory. So that was how we got engaged. And I was, yes, of course, I would marry you. I would love that.
Okay.
So we were married a year later.
Okay. And now fast forward. How long were you married before the revelation?
So this is actually an interesting part of the story. We have to rewind.
Okay.
Alan told me about being transgender 9 months into dating.
Did he?
And he did that.
How did he tell you? How did he do that?
We're getting into the good stuff.
Yeah, we are.
So it was any old regular Monday night. We weren't living together yet, and I had gone over there because at that time Alan was working in Fort Lauderdale, which is like an hour away from West Palm. And after work, I would go over to his house and walk and feed the dog. It was just because I felt like the dog can't go that long. It's like, come on, I'm going to go walk and feed your dog. Fast forward, though. The dog was our ring bearer and flower girl at our wedding.
Get out! Yeah. Wait a minute.
Wait a
minute. The dog was your flower girl and ring bearer?
Oh, yeah. I had like this really sweet collar done up with lace and tied the rings to the lace. And I had this huge like flower wreath to go around her collar. Oh, she was so cute.
Well, how did she do the flowers?
She walked down the aisle. Oh, she just wore the wreath. She didn't do anything. So she walks down the aisle. Now my father starts walking me down the aisle. And the dog, Bella, she was a sweet little black lab, sees I'm about halfway down the aisle, and she's like, oh no, sir, you are not doing this right. So she now goes up the aisle to meet me, goes behind me, and is now walking between me and my father to help walk me down the aisle.
Wow.
Yeah, that dog was something special. She's like, no, sir, you are not doing this right. I am going to walk you down.
That is, extraordinary.
But anyways, so I fed and walked her, and I waited and for Alan to get home. And I remember I was sat on the couch, and he came walking down the stairs, and he sits down, and he's like, I really need to talk to you about something. And I'm like, oh sweet Jesus, what are you breaking up with me? Like what? Like, when somebody's like, you need to talk, you're like, you freak out. That's what you do.
Yeah, you do.
And I'm like, oh dear, and he looked at me and he said, I love you so much. I see a future with you. I want to be with you. But in order to do that, for us to have a future together, you need to know more about me and then make your own decisions on whether you see a future with me. And he said, Amy, I am a woman. And I was like, what? Like,
no,
what?
But before, describe him before you even do that, because I'm going to pull this picture back up again. So describe this man.
If only you knew, like, this guy is, I always say, like, I married Santa, because there's a great big white beard, like just a very tall, very big, huge muscles, very much like the president of the boys club, like gonna smoke cigars, go hunting, drink some bourbon, and be like, yeah, I'm Alan Murphy Jr. Damn glad to meet you. I'm like, yeah. So genuinely like a very masculine, macho guy. And I'm like, and I start crying. Like at this point, you got to remember, I come from a town of 696
Right.
people.
And let me
I don't
ask
even
you,
know what the word transgender means.
let me
right? I'm
ask
like,
you, in your community, was there any diversity in your community at all, or no?
I didn't meet a Jewish person until college.
Wow.
Like there was none,
Were there any
It's
people
just
of color?
one family.
Wow.
Mhm. It was primarily just, I would say 50-50 white and migrant workers.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just, that
No, that's
question I
fine.
wanted to ask.
But
okay.
so
anyway, go.
I didn't even know what that meant, and I just remember being like, does this mean you're gay? Like,
Is that what
like,
you said?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes, I didn't know. I don't know these things.
Right. So what did he say when you said that?
Well, God bless him for not laughing at me. But, he's just like, no, I'm not. I'm like, how do you know?
And you're crying in the midst of doing this?
Literally, like I am like a big sobbing ugly mess. So we basically kind of get through that. I drive my little butt home and I scoop up my dog because I had a little Cocker Spaniel at the time, and I'm in my bed. I've got my laptop in front of me. I scooped up my little Cocker Spaniel and I'm like, I don't like any of this. And I'm like, therapist, I need to see you. This is really big. I don't know anything. Please help. So, but this was 9 months into dating. I'm like,
right.
Okay. Like, all I knew at that point was I loved this person. No one has ever loved me the way that Allie loves me, so completely and so unconditionally. And I just knew that I wasn't ready to just say, okay, we're done here. And just God bless my therapist, because she walked me through everything from, what being trans means, how, those people feel, some of the things they go through, what, because all journeys are different. What being trans to one person may be different than being trans to another person. She walked me through everything. And then she said, you've dated a lot, and, you don't have to make a decision today. You can keep dating and see if this fits. If it fits, great. If it doesn't fit, then just break up. I'm like, oh, good point. It's like, thank you, Captain Obvious, but when you're in the middle of like this emotional meltdown, you can't really think clearly. All you can think about is all of these insane conflicting feelings you've got going on. But so it started like that, and that just turned into the most amazing relationship I've ever experienced.
Wow. Okay. So 9 months into the relationship, he tells you, and I can value and appreciate the fact that he was so open and honest with you. Now, had he proposed at that point or no?
No. No,
Okay.
because he wanted to make sure that I was making the decision to get married and live together, forever with all of that information, and that's truly a blessing, because with a lot of trans spouses, specifically, if they get married as husband and wife and they transition after, the transitioning partner doesn't tell their spouse until after they're married, until after they've had kids, and that's really hard on them. It's just almost impossible to get through, so I am really blessed that I had the ability to know this information up front, to choose this life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it would be devastating. Because I know someone who was married and he came home from work and found her with a woman. And
That's
that,
gonna be so hard.
oh my God, he became an alcoholic.
Oh,
Yeah,
my heart goes out to him.
I mean, he's gone now, but and she is too, actually. But yeah, that was a devastating experience, especially since he loved her so much that they got married before they were even old enough to get married.
Oh,
They went to another state and got married. And I kept saying, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. You want to wait. You want to wait. You're still a senior in high school. You want to wait. You want to wait. And he didn't.
My grandparents did that. My grandmother ran off with my grandfather. She was 17 and he was 27. And they eloped.
Wow.
They ran off to another state to get married.
Wow.
And they were married for well over 50 years.
Wow.
Over.
When you know, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They had 5 amazing kids, a bazillion grandkids, and great-grandchildren.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they ran off and got married, too.
That's awesome. Okay, now back to your story.
Okay,
So
get us back on track, Vera.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just kind of diverted there for a minute. Okay, so at 9 months, he tells you this. And then you continue. So tell me, how did you wrap your head around this? And then how did you reconcile that he was the one, or now she is the one?
That's a really good question. So obviously, when I first found out, a lot of therapy, talk therapy, trying to, work through my feelings, because at that point, everything felt like it had just crashed down around me, because I knew that I loved this person. I knew I wanted to have a future with this person. But once I got that news, it was all
right. She just froze on me. All right. I am going to go to a commercial and we will be right back.
In a world where authenticity is the key, unlock your brand's potential with ADM's game-changing marketing solutions. We craft striking logos that embody your brand's spirit and build websites that captivate and convert. Our lead generation strategies are tailored to your needs, driving growth and boosting your bottom line. And our content, well, it's not just content. It's a narrative, a story that connects and resonates with your audience. But here at ADM, we're about more than just exceptional services. We're about authenticity, about staying true to who you are and what you stand for, because realness, that's what makes a brand unforgettable. So if you're ready to elevate your brand with authenticity and excellence, follow this page. Dive deeper into the world of divine marketing and become part of our community. Because at ADM, we're not just about making brands, we're about making brands matter.
Making brands matter. Let me tell you, ADM marketing is awesome. Ariel Chime is amazing. And if you want marketing that's going to be authentic and express who you are authentically, then you want to check out Ariel Chime, Authentic Divine Marketing. And you can go to bit.ly/divine chime and tell them you heard it on the Vera Thomas Show. All right. Now, I went to commercial because you froze on me for a minute.
I know. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Oh,
So
that's
where
okay. You were telling me,
lots of therapy.
right. Go ahead.
Lots of therapy to get through all of my emotions. The biggest thing was I thought that the vision I had from the future was shattered. My vision of us getting married, my vision of us having children, I felt all of that had just been completely taken away without any warning. And it felt like I was standing on unsteady ground and I didn't know where I could step that was safe. But I realized that I was being stupid, if that makes sense. Like, my vision of getting married didn't go away. We got married. My vision of us having children didn't go away. We have a child. Hi, Trey.
Yes, and I understand that they are watching you right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to ask you, you may not want to do this, but could you please introduce them to us?
Okay, so I got married to Alan Murphy Jr. And our son is our biological son. His name is Alan Murphy III, and we call him Trey. So Alan Jr. has now changed to Allie, but Trey is still Trey, and he's the best little boy in the whole wide world. He's 5 years old. He's in kindergarten, and he's just a muffin.
And where is he right now?
So he is at home with Daddy watching. I went to a little co-working space where it wouldn't be so loud with a 5-year-old running around. There's a lot of Hot Wheels, a lot of dinosaurs.
Well, he's an only child, so I understand. My son was an only child, so I understand. He's got everything.
So I needed to go somewhere where the background wouldn't be so romper room.
Okay. Well, hello, Trey and Allie. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to put any comments in the chat, please feel free to do so. All right. So now, we're in the therapy. You're resolving that it doesn't matter because of the love that you guys have for each other, and it didn't hamper you from having a child together.
Right. So we got married, and then after we got married, we decided to, try to start having a child. Trey came along in May of 2019, and God bless him, he's the best little kid in the whole wide world, but he is a lot. So we are happy to be one and done. So it was just over a year later, Allie came to me, and she's just the sweetest. She came to me in such a vulnerable state where she looks at me and almost like asking for permission, but she never needs to ask for permission. She just said, "Do you think now would be a good time to start transitioning?" And I'm like, me being smart old me. Well, what does that mean? I need more details. What does that look like?
Yes.
And, she walked me through the whole process about, starting hormone therapy. I went to quite a few of the doctor's appointments with her so that I could have my questions answered. And also I could kind of have like a say and like how quickly the hormone transition took place. But, Yeah, so that was August of 2020 when we began the transition itself. So Trey has actually known Daddy as, Santa looking Daddy, but also, the beautiful woman that she's turned into. And there's pictures all over our house of, Allie in various states of, pictures of us from our wedding, pictures of Allie holding Trey with the great big beard, and Trey knows that's Daddy.
Let me ask you, has your son ever questioned the differences or asked about them?
Well, I would say for a while he didn't understand that Daddy was a woman and we use the she, her pronouns, but we just, started correcting like we would correct anything. Like, don't forget to say please, don't forget to say thank you. And when Trey would refer to Daddy as he, I would just say she, Daddy is at her desk. And then
So he still calls him Daddy?
so he doesn't really.
He still calls him Daddy? Okay. She has frozen again. So I am going to play another commercial and we will be right back.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay.
Creates high quality products that are available to be used on multiple textures of hair. Her goal is to bridge the gap to stop people from having to use multiple products because of families with multiple hair types. Her products are currently being used on men, women, children of all ethnicities. Mama Knows products are available at www.mamaknowsproducts.com. That's www.mamaknowsproducts.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Mama Knows Products because, Mama knows what you need.
What you need. Let me tell you, these products are wonderful. They smell great. Shampoos, moisturizers, conditioners, elixirs, and all kinds of products to help maintain healthy hair. And all ethnicities, all genders can take advantage of what she has to offer. So you want to check out.
I'm going to have to go check her out.
She's awesome.
I'm going to check her out. I need some work.
Check her out. And the reason you want to check her out is because Mama knows what you need. So, so check her out. Check her out. Okay. And so let's come back because you had froze again. If you freeze, then I'll just go to a commercial. Okay.
Perfect.
So, all right. So let's get back on track. And because there's so much more we need to talk about. You went through your therapy, and so what did the resolution look like? How did you approach the change, the transition?
I had a saying that we are on a slow boat to China. And I said, the slower the transition, the better. Because
is that what you told him?
Yes, without a doubt. I'm like, let's take as long as humanly possible. And I did that on purpose because it gave me time to catch up to the transition, because it is such a shock going from this great big burly Santa to a beautiful woman, and still be completely in love and still be attracted to this person. Right. So if you take, that's my wife and she's absolutely stunning.
And this is Trey.
Oh, and that is Trey. That was them at their little Valentine's date.
Oh,
Mhm.
that
They
is
had
awesome.
tea and strawberries, but the slower the transition made it easier for me. I'm sure it was hard for Allie because she finally gets the opportunity to transition, to finally live as a woman, as the person she's always felt on the inside. But I needed it to go slow so that I could stay on the train, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You just get on this train and the train is just hightailing it out of there. I need to stay on that train. I need to hold on for dear life because I'm not letting you go, right? But that
Yes.
train needs to go slow because I need to stay comfortable. Like I said, everybody's journey is different, and what works for me may not have worked for other people. But yeah, for me, it was slow boat to China, and and it hasn't been easy, but
Tell
it's
me,
been beautiful.
what has been some of the challenges?
Probably one of the biggest challenges that we had, and it's genuinely because we weren't communicating. After Trey was born, and it was just as Allie had started her transition. So it was about just a year or so after he was born. I, wasn't comfortable with my body at all. I hadn't lost the baby weight. I felt terrible. I looked terrible. And the last thing I wanted was for my wife to see me and my body looking like that. And I wasn't expressing that to Allie. And Allie just thought that I was completely shutting down because she was starting to transition, right? And so we weren't connecting, and being able to be intimate with your spouse and connecting on that level, it's genuinely the glue that keeps you together.
Yes.
We weren't connecting, and I wasn't expressing why. So of course she was going to take that and internalize it.
Yeah.
I would, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once we finally started talking and I was expressing like why I felt the way that I felt, we were able to get past that. But it took a lot of time, a lot of hard conversations. Hard conversations are hard.
They are, and pregnancy can really wreak havoc on a body. It really can. But I'm glad you got past that. Now, tell me about your relationship and how the dynamic works with you and your child and Allie.
We are just like any normal family. I'm mommy, Allie is daddy. Like I said, if Trey ever wants to change that he can. But we parent like any other parents. All we want to do is just show up every day for our kid. We want to have this amazing life. We take a lot of road trips together. We just want to have fun and enjoy our time while we're here. We're
beautiful.
So blessed to have found each other. We're so blessed to have been able to create our child.
Yes.
So we just want to enjoy our life together. It's really quite funny. So I work for myself and Allie works for herself, and we both work from home. So we spend all day, every day together. And most people look at us, they're like, how on earth do you do that? Like, I would kill my spouse. And I'm like, no. And it's funny because if she has to go to Miami for a day for business, I'll like text her at lunchtime. I'm like, I miss you. Is that weird? We spend so much time together and we just genuinely enjoy being together.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you are also an author.
I am.
And I want to talk about your books, but before I do, you also have Clematis Creative.
Yes.
So tell us about Clematis. One, how did you come up with that name? Two, what is it that you do?
So Clematis Creative is it's my business, and I help small businesses with their communication and marketing needs, whether that be internal communication, marketing strategy, anything as it relates to those two things. I specifically chose small businesses on purpose, just because those are the businesses that
That need
often
the help.
they do. And a lot of times I found that the small businesses get taken advantage of by agencies because they don't know what questions to ask. So yes, that's what I do as Clematis Creative. And I chose Clematis Creative because one, I love flowers, and clematis is a purple flower. And where I live, Clematis Street is the main street in downtown. So it just kind of made sense. And it was available. I'm like, perfect. I just got to get my business going. So, because at the time I was working for a government agency and I didn't really like the bureaucracy of it. So I was just like, I got to get out here. I got to do my own thing. I got to come up with something. So it's just, it came to me one day. I was like on a lunch break. I was like, that's what I'm doing.
Yes. Now,
it's available. I'm doing it.
Do you serve as a VA as well?
I do not. No.
Okay.
So it's primarily just communication and marketing work. But my other business, the Amy Murphy business, where it's, coaching, speaking, and writing, I've really spent a lot of time just telling our story, specifically because I want to become a resource for other trans spouses. Now, whether those spouses choose to stay together or not, I still want to be a safe place for them, So I'm in the process of creating like our own little community on Substack so we can be safe from, the crazy people that are on social media. But I'm creating a community for us spouses so that we can talk to each other and remind each other that they're not alone in this process. A lot of times the spouses just internalize all of their feelings because they don't want to share with their trans spouse for fear of hindering their growth. So I want to be there for those other spouses. And just kind of an interesting little story. Allie and I had been written about in the Los Angeles Tribune the beginning of last year. And I had shared that story on Facebook, and one individual I went to college with, he sent me a note. He said, my colleague came up to me today because he had shared my story on his Facebook. And he said, my colleague is married and her spouse just told her that she wants to transition and she doesn't know what to do and she doesn't know where to go and she doesn't even know how to feel. And I'm like, this is my calling. I'm like, I'm here for you people. Because there's not a lot of resources just because there's not really a lot of spouses who stay.
Right.
I wrote I contributed to a book last year called The Wildlife. It's all about, women kind of going out there and doing the unconventional thing. So it's about my story of, breaking the norm of societal expectations. So I really enjoyed contributing to that. But my biggest accomplishment I'm currently doing, I'm writing a book. It's called I Like Your Face. And the reason why it's called I Like Your Face is when Allie and I first started dating, I always used to say to her, I like your face. I like your face. And I still say that to her all the time, even though that face has changed so much. So it's just kind of like a fun little nod. But the book is primarily about all of my letters, to my wife before, during, after transition, and what all that entails. So the good, the bad, the ugly, probably a couple letters she hasn't read because they were more meant for my journal. Oops. But
Well, he just heard. She just heard.
Right. So I'm really thrilled about that. That's going to come out later this year.
Oh,
But that's going to be my biggest
congratulations.
accomplishment. Thank you. Thank you.
And who did the artwork for the face?
I did that.
Did you?
Yeah, I did that. Yeah. So just a little side note, I do graphic design as well. It's just kind of one of my little tidbits, things that I do. But yeah, I did that.
Okay. All right.
So
that's beautiful.
I like it because it's just, that there's such an interesting symbolism with the butterfly and the metamorphosis.
Yes.
And, I just thought it was a really
talk about your art
to the transgender community,
Yes. So the butterflies representing new birth.
It's just kind of that metamorphosis. You're this big fuzzy caterpillar and you have to go through this really traumatic transition to become the beautiful, authentic you. So
that's awesome.
And one last thing.
I love that.
Allie got me a tattoo for my birthday last year. It's called I Like Your Face.
Let me hide this. Oh, really? Oh, my goodness.
So the letters are actually our monogram. So it's Amy, Allie, and T for Trey. But at the bottom,
wow. I like your face. So
I look at it every single day. So I get to see, my little monogram for Amy, Allie, and Trey. And the funny part is I would say 2 or 3 times now, I've been snuggling with Trey in bed. He says, Mommy, I want a tattoo just like yours and Daddy's.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, all right. I grab my marker and I put it right on his arm. And I'm like, you got it, buddy.
Not a permanent marker.
No, gosh, no. No. So I'm not winning Mom of the Year for that one, but I like it.
I hear you. Now, one of the things that we talked about before we got on the show was you shared an instance where your son experienced the two of you yelling.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Well, like as in any couple, you're going to have your disagreements. And, our voices were raised. And I just remember looking over at him and he knew, like he just knew and he shut down. And, we had been in the process of trying to work on our communication for a long while anyways, but Allie just looked at me and said, listen, we have to communicate better, because this isn't working. We can't communicate like this in front of our son.
No.
And we decided in that moment, we just need to hear each other out.
Yes.
And make the other person feel heard, regardless of whether you agree with it or not. You need to hear them.
Absolutely. And one of the things I want to say to parents, if you just have to be in a disagreement with your spouse, don't do it around your children. Either go to your bedroom or go outside or don't go for a drive, because when you're angry, you shouldn't be driving. No.
But we've got a couple of rules as it relates to that. Even before the communication part, we've always had a rule where you cannot swear at the other person. By all means, you go ahead and swear if you want to be descriptive. Perfect. I don't care. But you can't swear at the other person. And you don't want to say anything you can't take back.
Yes.
Right? Just because you're angry and you're going through whatever you're going through, just take a moment to hit the pause button before you say something you can't take back. So I mean, I don't have all the answers of what makes a successful marriage, but I know that communication is
key.
Huge.
Communications is key. And, it's not what we say, but how we say it that makes all the difference in the world. And so when communicating with your spouse, the pointing the fingers, you don't want to do that. You want to talk about and own your thoughts and your feelings as a result of whatever happened, but you don't want to keep pointing the finger.
Yeah, you want to be heard, but your partner wants to be heard too. And you need to acknowledge what they're saying.
Absolutely.
So that's something
Absolutely.
that's working for us. But I tell you what, it took a long time to get there because
Yes, and you know,
communication is hard. And I was the queen of not talking about feelings. I was always like, feelings are dumb, feelings are stupid. I'm not going to talk about them. Right. So it took a really long time for me to get to a point where I could talk about my feelings.
yes. Wow. Well, you know what? But when we know better, we do better. And you recognize that you needed to step out of your comfort zone so that you could model the type of behavior you want to see in your son.
Yeah. Because I mean, how you raise a good human is by being a good human.
Absolutely. I love that. As a matter of fact, I'm putting it in the chat.
Perfect.
Yes.
How you raise a good human is by being a good human. You know, be kind, be understanding. But,
oh, what's going on here? Okay. Oh, this is crazy. I'm using.
But yeah, being Trey's mother is the best job I've ever had.
Yes,
I will say I had
amazing.
no idea how much my mother loved me until I had a child. I think you don't understand love.
Wow. So I lost what I was typing.
That's okay.
Can you repeat
you
it again?
raise a good human by being a good human.
What's going on? Okay. This is so true. So true. And I put it in the chat because people need to see this. And I am going to put it up here. You raise a good human by being a good human.
I love it.
Show love. Be love. Let your love shine bright so that your light will shine bright.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, I am going to give you the floor.
Okay. All right. Well, I will say
I'm
that.
going to. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's just been an absolute pleasure being with you tonight, getting to know you better. For you giving me the opportunity to share our story. I just thank you so much for that, genuinely.
Well, you know what? When we did the Children's Lives Matter, and you were sharing your story, and I had so many questions I wanted to ask, but that was not the venue. So I am so happy that you came here because I asked some questions that I appreciate you being vulnerable enough to share some things that, people may not be willing and open to share. So I appreciate that. And I'm going to give you the floor to give our final words. And you can reach her by going to, let me pull it back up.
My website is
her website.
.com.
Yes.
You can,
and her
there's
email.
Contact forms there, or you can email me at amy@clematiscreative.com. But I just want to share with your audience, the world that we live in right now is a very tumultuous place where it's very divided, and it doesn't need to be. For us as parents, we're just regular, normal people. Being transgender doesn't mean, one thing or another thing. The way that the community is being portrayed in the media right now isn't entirely accurate. Like I said, we are just parents, and we're just a couple who desperately love each other, who want to enjoy our life together and share our story in the process so that, you know, this world can have a better understanding of the trans community.
Amen. And I just want to say, just as Amy said, we're living in tumultuous times right now. We are living where it appears that darkness is consuming us, but it doesn't have to. If each of us let our light shine, if each of us show love towards each other, diversity matters, DEI matters. And DEI is not about race. It's about respecting people, no matter who they are, no matter what lifestyle they may have. We need to show love. We need to I'm telling you, we cannot allow what we see to impact us to the point where we are abolished, demolished, destroyed. We don't want to do that. So each of us have got to play our part. We've got to stand up, speak up, and wake up. Yes. Thank you. I know I went over, but listen, thank you so much. And if you would hold on a minute, I would appreciate it.
Of course.
And I'll say to our listening audience, we will see you on Thursday. And this show was also aired on Paradigm Television. I'm excited about that. So check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and please like, share, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to build it up. So help me do that, please, by subscribing to my channel. Well, listen, God bless you all. And we will see you next on Thursday. So God bless. Goodbye.
Bye.
The